Hey guys, come and sit down in my office. It's that time of the week. It's time to set up for a new weekly. I'm going to recreate this spread that I created many moons ago. I'm going to keep the doodles, but I'm going to switch up the layout because I found one that's working much better for me at the moment. So to start this spread off, I'm going to draw in some 8x8 dot space boxes. These are going to run down the top with an extra box down the side because there are 7 days in a week, but only spaces for 6 boxes. This is going to be my daily space. So anything that's pre-arranged, that's going to go into those little boxes. And then down, continuing down on this right-hand side, I'm going to have a box for next week because I'm quite enjoying seeing what's coming up the following week. I kind of feel it puts me in the right headspace when planning. And then down at the bottom I've got that cheeky little space, so I'm going to put in a calendar as it's going to be the last week of August. What is happening to time and 2020? This left hand box, I've slowed the video down. This is what it's going to look like. So I've got my tasks on the right hand side, and then because I don't know what day I want to do them, on the left, I'm going to have Monday to Sunday, and then I can, once I've done them, I can go and put down which day I completed that task. This is really helping me when it comes to getting stuff done. I have a mental to-do list that is huge, but I don't always know which day that I want to do it. So this is a style that's working for me. I pinched it from the Sleepless Planner, who is on Instagram and YouTube, so you have no excuse not to go and follow her. So the doodle that I'm recreating is this Alice in Wonderland inspired doodle. It was in a Nooner notebook to begin with, so it's on a much bigger surface. So I've had to condense it down, which means that I lose the key, but meh, that's fine. I think when you're recreating something you've done before, it's always got to be a little bit different, right? It's got to show some form of progression. So I'm going to go in and pretty much copy as true to form as I can, but obviously every doodle you do is a little bit different in some way. You'll also notice that I have doodled the door handle in its entirety, and then I'm going to go in and draw a label over the top and rub it out. This is kind of intentional. I could have just drawn the label in. I knew that label from the beginning was going to be there, but in terms of perspective and lines, I felt much more comfortable drawing out the whole door handle, then putting the label over the top, and then just taking out the lines that I don't need. When I'm drawing anything out, I'm using a bazillion pencil lines. So it's, I'm not just putting one line down and that's it. It's lots of tiny little sketches and moving things around and rubbing things out. And my only tip, I think, if you're going to be sketching something out, is get rid of the pencil lines that you don't want almost immediately. Don't leave old lines on the page, because if you are anything like me, you are going to end up outlining them. And there may be tears. That's all I'm saying. And when you're sketching out letters and words for things, always put some guidelines in. So I've put in a centre line so I can see where the middle of that biscuit is, and then I can go and flesh out the letters from there. I did it with the drink me. I put in 2 guidelines that followed the flow of the label, so that when I then went in and put those letters in, it looks as if it is printed on that label as opposed to just floating in mid-air. So that'd be my top tip for you. I did, you may have seen, I started to draw out the quote. So there's a quote on the other side of the page. So I started to letter that out and then thought, you know what? We're past that. I'm going to freehand brush letter that at the end of the spread once I've coloured it in, because nobody wants to be colouring in over black lines. It's just the most anxious process you could ever do. So I'm going to leave that till the end, get it outlined. I think I'm using my Sakura Micron in 0.5. Get it all outlined, get all the pencil markings rubbed out, get onto the bit that you know I love, which is the colouring in, and then there'll be some freehand brush lettering of an entire quote. It does give me anxiety because I love to see things penciled out. I feel like I know where I'm going if it's penciled out. But in the spirit of trying new things, I'm not doing that this week. I'd love to tell you that it went absolutely swimmingly and it's the best brush lettering I've ever done. We all know that's not going to happen. It's still a work in progress for me. I'm really much better at the big, bulky brush lettering when I've got a really big, thick brush lettering pen. When I've got a smaller, thinner brush lettering pen, it takes a lot more concentration, and I'm not quite there yet, but that's what we practice for, right? These are the spreads we design and we do so that we can practice. I've gone in and put a little background frame in, just a little bit smaller than the doodle itself. I'm going to go and colour this in with a really light colour, but it is a nice way of framing that doodle, and it just brings it together so that when you're looking at it as a whole piece, it just sort of stands alone as a doodle within that page, and I just think it looks better. For colouring in, I've chosen quite a few different markers than the ones that I used in the original doodle. So the first one, I used Faber Castell redline markers for the whole thing, whereas this time I'm still using a couple of Faber Castell redline markers, mainly the teal that the biscuit's going to be coloured in with, because that's my favourite colour. And then I'm going to use some Bic Colour Kids pens for the door handle, and then some Dingbats Atopens, mainly because their yellow is the most vibrant thing I've ever seen in my life. I love kids' pens when I'm doing these doodles, mainly because they are water-based, and water-based means it's less likely to bleed through your journal. I put down so much ink in my journals that if it was to bleed through, I would lose every other page, which is also coincidentally why I didn't love the Nuna that's on the right-hand side of the page. So the Nuna has very porous pages. It's not coated in any way. So the moment you lay ink down onto those pages, oh, it sucks it up hard. And not only does it suck it sucks it up straight through the other side. And ghosting and bleeding is like the bane of any journal life. So while I gather myself and get myself ready to do some mammoth freehand brush lettering of that quote, I'm going to fill in the boxes first and get the whole spread looking ready to go. So I go in with a brush letter and put in the days of the week. And then I'm playing around with a mix of colours. So because I did the teal for the dates, I've gone back in with a pink for the days of the week. And then I'm just going to bring that through. So the same lettering I use for the days of the week, I use on the next week's spread. One of my biggest things this week is I've turned my to-do list into an intentions list. This was something I'd watched on Mari Plans a List over on Instagram, her stories, where she said, you know what, get rid of the to-do list, make them intentions. If you intend to do it, put it down. So Mari, this week I've got intentions. So the last thing to do is to do a bit of freehand brush lettering for the quote. And this is probably the moment just here where I realise that the rest of the quote has some very long words and I have a very little space. So I did overshoot my own little frame, but I'm not mad at it. This is going to be my weekly. I'm excited to use it. Let me know if you like it down in the comments. Drop it a like and let me know what's your intentions for next week. And until next time, stay safe and I'll see you soon.